Okay, so let's focus on our first topic again. It's called introduction and initial configuration. If you guys remember our previous session, so the topic is introduction and initial configuration. Okay. So now in introduction and initial configuration, what we can do, we can focus on interface configuration. Rajnish, Bhaskar, Amit, Ahmed, Lina, Ruchika, can you? Now in introduction and initial configuration, let's focus on interface configuration, like how to configure our physical interfaces or how to create our logical interfaces. Ruchika, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, we are in introduction and initial configuration. So wait, let's open this small topology. Wait. Please wait. I need to reset this Firewall device because I was using this lab in another batch. So I need to reset. For reset your Firewall device, you can use a command execute factory reset. Let me show you this command syntax. So I'm trying to reset this firewall device. Execute factory reset command you can use guys to reset your firewall box. You can click on yes. So this will take time. So let's focus on our new topic. It's called interface configuration. So physical interface, yes, we can configure like, for example, fast Ethernet 0/0, fast Ethernet 0/1, or gigabit Ethernet interface. I can configure. But what about logical interfaces? Any logical interface? Any idea about logical interface? Ahmed, Amit, Bhaskar, Lina, Rajneesh, Ruchika.
Could be a VLAN kind of sub
VLAN, yes.
interface thing.
Yes, VLAN is a one logical interface. Any other logical interface?
Loopback.
Loopback is another example. Yes, we can create loopback. Any other option?
SVI.
SVI. SVI, okay, it's a VLAN interface. Ahmed.
Okay.
Any other option? Any other logical interface,
Called Ether channel.
Ether channel. Thank you. Ether channel. That's the next option. Ether channel. So let's start our discussion with these interface configuration options. So I'm trying to configure IP address. I have a small topology. Into this topology, port number 1, I'm using as a management port. So IP address I'm configuring on port number 1, 192.168, 1.190 into this topology. In your topology, you can configure any other IP address. Set allows HTTP, HTTPS, ping, and SSH. SSH. Now you can save your configuration. Now let's try to access Let's try to access 192.168.1.190. So it's a new firewall box. We can try to configure our physical interface first. So for interface configuration, what you can do, you can click on network. See, here is a tab, network tab. You can click on network, you can click on interface. Here you can get all interface information. So you can see, if you talk about physical interfaces, so we have 4 physical interface. See, onto this FortiGate firewall box, 4 physical interface, port number 1, port number 2, port number 3, and 4. If you remember port number 1 configuration through CLI, yes, we are using 192.168.1.190, and this is service. These services are enabled onto this port number 1. Remember this configuration, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, now
Yes, sir.
we are trying to configure port number 2. See guys, you can configure port number 2 through CLI option. No problem. You can configure. Okay, you can go with config system interface command. You can edit your port number 2, no problem. But I'm trying to configure this time port number 2 with graphical page. So you can select this port number 2. You can click on edit. And let's try to edit this port number 2. So edit interface, port number 2 interface. So you can use alias option. Alias is what? Alias is just a description, you can say. For example, this interface I'm using for LAN network. So I can use an alias name, for example, LAN. Now you can see here is the option role. So in FortiGate firewall box, we have 3 predefined role option. You can see it's called LAN role, WAN role, DMZ. If you guys remember our Cisco ASA firewall discussion, so I told you, if you go on any interface in Cisco ASA firewall, for example, here we have fast Ethernet 0/0. If you go onto this interface and if you type a predefined keyword, it's called inside, INSIDE. If you type this predefined keyword on any interface, this interface will get a security level 100. It's a default option. Okay, on Cisco ASA firewall box, it's a default option. Okay, same type of concept we have. Here we have predefined role like LAN, WAN, and DMZ. If you select LAN role for this interface, so option is change. These options are available. If you select WAN, now you can see options change. See, if you select DMZ, now options change. So you can use role option, predefined role option in Fortinet, LAN, WAN, and DMZ. So right now I'm not using any predefined role. I'm going with undefined. It means everything I will configure as per my requirement. So I'm going with the undefined option. Now we are here to configure IP address on interface. So you can see addressing mode. Here we have manual option, or you can go with the DHCP. What is one-arm sniffer? So one-arm sniffer concept we can discuss in login and monitoring concept. Here we can discuss what is one-arm sniffer. But see, for idea, I'm telling you, in Fortinet, you can say one-arm sniffer. In Palo Alto firewall box, you can say tap interface. So this concept is called tap interface in Palo Alto. In Fortinet, you can say one-arm sniffer. So this concept we will discuss in login and monitoring. Right now, our focus is on IP address configuration. So you can see 2 options are available, manual and DHCP. So yes, I want to configure IP address manually, statically, you can say. So you can configure. So as per our topology, I'm trying to configure, this series of IP on port number 200 dot network. So IP address 200.200.200.1/24. Now, if you verify services information, so these are the services, and these services are not enabled by default on any interfaces, on any data interfaces. If you check on port number 1, so on port number 1 by default, these services are enabled. These services are enabled by default on port number 1. But if you check interface information, you can see services are not enabled on port number 2, port number 3, port number 4. So nothing is enabled. Okay, no service is enabled on port number 2 or other interfaces. Now you can enable as per your requirement. For example, I want to enable HTTPS service or ping service, or you can go with the FMG access service. What is FMG access service? If you want to allow 40 manager to access this FortiGate firewall box, so you need to enable this FMG access protocol. It's called FGFM protocol, or you can say FMG access. Now SSH, you can enable SNMP service, you can enable Forti telemetry, you can enable security fabric connection, you can enable. So multiple options are there. Right now I'm trying to enable ping service. My requirement is what? Only ping service this time. So you can select your checkbox. Now you can see receive LLDP option onto this interface. You can see receive LLDP option and transmit LLDP. What is LLDP? Any idea?
It's open standard protocol.
Sorry.
Open standard protocol.
Okay. Okay. Why we are using LLDP concept?
If I have different vendor.
Different vendor. Okay. Yes. See, guys, if you remember Cisco, everyone, Lena, Ruchika, Bhaskar, Amit.
Just like CDP, right?
Sorry, CDP, exactly. Yes, yes. If you remember in Cisco, we have a concept, CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol. With CDP, we can get directly connected devices information. We can get our neighbor information. So CDP, it's enabled only on Cisco devices. You can use on Cisco devices, but in case if you are working with multi-vendor scenario, for example, you have FortiGate, PALO, ALTO, Checkpoint, Cisco devices. In that case, for neighbor detail information, for neighbor discovery, what you can do, you can use this open standard protocol. It's a CCNA concept, everyone. If you don't know, so please revise your CCNA. It's a CCNA concept, link layer discovery protocol, LLDP. By default, LLDP is not enabled. In multi-vendor scenario, if you're looking for a neighbor discovery option, you can go with LLDP option. By default, it's not enabled. You have to enable. See, you can go with enable option, you can go with disable option. In LLDP, you can decide receive LLDP packets or transmit LLDP packet. I'm not telling you LLDP. What is LLDP? Because it's a CCNA concept. Okay, clear my point? Here I'm telling you how to enable, because it's a common concept, everyone. LLDP is a common concept. It's related with routing and switching. Here I'm telling you how to enable LLDP in FortiGate firewall box. Clear my point? Reena, Bhaskar, Rajneesh, Ruchika, Amit, Bhaskar, Ahmed.
Yes, clear, sir.
Yes.
So if there is any requirement, what you can do, you can enable or you can disable. Now here's the option DSCP. So you can enable DSCP service onto this port number 2. For example, port number 2, we have a connectivity with switch, and in LAN side, we have multiple computers, and you want to provide IP address onto these computers through DSCP service. So yes, you can enable DSCP service on port number 2, no problem. You can enable the service. See, you can enable the service. Right now we are using 200 network. So 200.1 we are using onto this interface. So range, if you guys remember DSCP configuration, story is same. What is DSCP? Okay, in DSCP you can create range, you can define mask, you can define gateway information, you can define DNS entry. Yes, everything is available. So we are using 200.200.1. So range, pool range start with 2 to 254. So you can enable DSCP service on port number 2. I'm not enabling, I'm giving you idea. So yes, you can enable. Right now we are trying to configure IP address on port number 2. So IP address is done, service is done. You can click on OK. And this time you can verify IP address on port number 2, 200.200.1/24. You can verify this IP address information through CLI, show system interface command. You can use, see, IP address on port number 2, set IP address /24, ping service. Clear my point? How to configure our physical interface? It's a very simple task. You can select your interface, you can click on edit, and you can edit as per your requirement. Clear now? Amit, Rina, any question? Ruchika, any question? Rajneesh? Clear now? How to configure any physical interface? Everyone?
Yes, yes, clear.
It's clear, sir.
Now we can move for the logical interfaces. For logical interfaces, you can click on create new. Here you can click on create new, you can click on interface, and you can see you can see multiple options are available for logical interfaces. You can click here. You can see you can create aggregate interface, or you can say ether channel. You can create logical interface. It's called loopback interface. You can create redundant interface or software switch interface or VLAN interface. Wi-Fi SSID is not your topic. So you can create these logical interfaces. So now let's start our discussion with VLAN interface. So in which scenario we required our VLAN interface? This scenario we need VLAN interface. Wait. So for example, I have 140 firewall box. This is firewall device, and this firewall device, it's connected. Firewall device, it's connected with LAN network. So here we have a switch. In LAN side, we have multiple subnets. You can say, for example, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and VLAN 30. So this is port number, for example, 5. So we have multiple VLANs in LAN side. For example, VLAN 10, IP address 192.168.10. network. VLAN 20, IP address 192.168.20.0. Then VLAN 30, IP address 192.168.30.0. Now, so these VLANs are connected with switch, and this switch is connected with port number 5. So here we have a single interface, right, everyone? We have a single interface, port number 5, and we cannot configure multiple IP addresses. See, as per this scenario, we need separate gateway. For each VLAN, we need separate gateway. Yes or no? Yes or no? We need a separate gateway for each VLAN.
Yes, yes.
And we cannot configure multiple IP addresses onto this physical interface. We cannot configure. In that case, what we can do, if you remember CCNA concept, so you can create sub interfaces. In CCNA, it's called sub interfaces. In firewall, what you can do, you can create VLAN interface. So behalf of this single physical port, I can create multiple VLAN interfaces. Okay, so we can create VLAN 10 interface. IP address I'm using 192.168.10.1. VLAN 20, 192.168.20.1. VLAN 30 interface I can create. IP address I'm using 192.168.30.1. Now for VLAN 10 computers, this IP address is acting as a gateway. So this for VLAN 10 IP address, this IP address is gateway. For VLAN 20 computers, this IP address is as a gateway. For VLAN 30, this IP address is acting as a gateway. Can anyone help me? Lena, can you hear me? Lena, what about this interface? Any idea? Lena, only Lena. Ahmed, please wait. What about this interface? Bhaskar, what about this interface?
Hello, sir.
Yes, what about this interface? This interface. Amit?
Sub-interface.
No, sub interface we can create. What about
This interface will be a trunk.
Trunk.
Thank you so much. Trunk.
Trunk.
So this interface would be the trunk, right? Because trunk consists VLAN database. Lena, clear my point?
Yes.
Trunk consists via multiple VLAN database. So through trunk link, VLAN 10 traffic is traveling. Through trunk link, VLAN 20 traffic, VLAN 30 traffic. So this is the scenario where we can create multiple VLAN interfaces. I hope it's clear. Ruchika, Rajneesh.
Yes.
So how to create a VLAN interface? So you can give a name, for example, VLAN 10. It's just a name, VLAN 10. Now alias, so it's a marketing VLAN. Now interface, so I have a single interface. For example, port number 4. I have a single interface. You can attach your VLAN ID number, so VLAN 10. And now it's an interface, so you can configure IP address, for example, 192.168.10.1/24 ping service. You can click on OK. Now, if you expand this port number 4, so you can see we have a VLAN interface. VLAN interface. You can click on create new, you can click on interface. You can click on interface, and now you can give a name, for example, VLAN 20. It's a sales. For example, it's a sales VLAN. Now interface, yes, I have a single interface, port number 4. And now VLAN ID, I can attach VLAN ID, for example, VLAN 20. IP address, as per our discussion, if you remember, as per our discussion, I'm using 20.1. So yes, you can configure IP address here, 192.168.20.1/24. Ping service, you can click on OK. Let's create one more logical interface, or you can say VLAN interface. So it's a VLAN 30. VLAN 30, it's a HR VLAN. And interface, yes, I have a single interface, port number 4. VLAN ID is 10. IP, no, not 10. VLAN ID is 30. VLAN, and now IP address 192.168.30.1/24. You can enable your service. You can click on OK. So now you can see, guys, if you expand this port number 4, you can get VLAN interface information. Clear my point? How to create VLAN interfaces?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, I
Okay.
have a question.
Yes, Ahmed. Any question?
So how many sub interfaces can I create?
See, there's no limitation, Ahmed. Okay.
Okay.
You can create multiple sub interfaces. See, it's depend upon your requirement. And see, yes, you need to consider the load. You need to consider the load, okay? But there's no limitation. You can create multiple VLAN interfaces. Clear now? For example, Ahmed, on a layer 2 switch, you can create VLAN in between. You can create layer 2
4,009.
1024, I think,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you can create multiple VLANs, but you have only 24 ports. So where you need these VLANs?
Divided by.
See, you have 24 ports only, right?
Yes.
Why there is an option to create 121024 VLANs? Why this? Sorry?
For logical interface, multiple.
See, Bhaskar, my point is what you have 24 ports, but if you remember on layer 2 switch, you can create 1 to 1024 VLANs, right?
Yes.
But see, you can see as per your ports, you can maximum create 24 VLAN, right, Amit?
Yes.
So it's depend upon your requirement. Okay, there's no limitation. If your requirement, you can create. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Clear now? Now you can click on create new. You can click on interface, and now you can go with the next logical interface. For example, aggregate. So what is aggregate interface? Remember, guys, ether channel discussion. Ether channel.
Yes.
Okay, wait. Ruchika, what is ether channel?
Logical interface where we bundle the interfaces
Bundle the interfaces,
to
right?
create the load. To carry the extra load.
See what we can do. If you guys remember from CCNA classes, we can create ether channel, right? Ether channel. In ether channel, you can combine multiple physical interfaces and you can create a single logical port. For example, here we have 1 GB speed, 1 GB speed, 1 GB speed. So in ether channel, you can aggregate the bandwidth of these links and you can create a single logical port. For example, single ether channel with 3 GB speed, right? Everyone, this is ether channel concept, right? Same ether channel concept you can configure in FortiGate firewall box. Same in FortiGate, you can say aggregate interface. So you can combine multiple physical interfaces and can create a single logical port. You can aggregate the bandwidth of these links and can create aggregate interface. So how to create? See, wait, right now I have a single port. Please wait 2 minutes. I need to add more interfaces.
The configuration you done through CLI, will that be automatically saved?
Yes, it's automatically saved. If you on CLI, if you type in command, configuration is live.
Okay, that means if anyone do any changes, that will be saved automatically.
Yes, that's why it's a Fortinet. If you are working with Palo Alto firewall box, so whenever you change anything, you need to commit your configuration.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yes. But in Fortinet, if you click on OK, it's live. Okay, let's try to access this firewall again. 192.168, 1.190. So I'm trying to create aggregate interface. I'm not telling you story, okay, about Ether channel, okay, like PAGP protocol, LSCP protocol, load balancing. No, I'm not telling you story. I'm telling you how to create Ether channel. You can click on network, you can click on interface, and this time you can see we have multiple physical interfaces. So you can click on create new, you can click on interface. Now you can give a name, for example, Ether 11, just a name. Now tab for testing. Now, so I can combine interfaces, for example, port number 5 and port number. Okay, wait, type is aggregate. So now you can combine interface members. So port number 5, port number 6, you can combine your interfaces. It's a L3 Ether channel because we are working with L3 device, a routed firewall box. So it's a L3 Ether channel. You can configure IP address here. For example, 50.50.50.1/24. You can enable service. You can click on OK. So you can see Ether channel options is available. In FortiGate, you can say aggregate interface. Clear this option?
Yes, sir.
Now you can click on create new. You can click on interface, and now we can create loopback interface. So if you remember, guys, loopback we are using for testing. So you can like other vendor, you can create loopback interface for testing. So for example, name is loopback 10, and it's a loopback interface. So yes, you need to configure IP address. For example, 60.60.60.60/32 I can use. Why? Because it's a logical interface and we are not connecting any port with this loopback interface. So yes, you can use /32. You can enable any service. You can click on OK. So yes, you can create VLAN interfaces. You can create Ether channel aggregate interface. You can create loopback interface. Now let's focus on next option. So now we can talk about a red interface. So what is red interface? Where it's required. So remember Ether channel, everyone. In Ether channel, we can aggregate the bandwidth. We can combine multiple physical interfaces and can create a single logical port. In red interface, what we can do, we can combine multiple interfaces, but concept is different. Okay. If you talk about aggregate interface, so what you are doing in aggregate interface, you are trying to aggregate bandwidth. For example, you have 1 GB, 1 GB, 1 GB. So you can combine bandwidth and you can create a single Ether channel port, for example, Ethernet 1 with 3 GB speed. Okay, where we can use this red interface. What is the scenario? So for example, I have a port number 7, for example, port number 7. This port number 7, it's connected with a switch and we have multiple computers this side. So everything is working fine. You can say everything is, every configuration is available onto this port number 7. For example, alias, IP address, services information. You can say all the configuration is done on port number 7 and traffic is traveling. Traffic is traveling via this port number 7. No problem. Now, in case if this link goes down, for example, if this link is not working, maybe some issue. Okay, this link is not working. So what you can do in real scenario? You can unplug this cable in real scenario. If this port is not working, so you can unplug this cable and you can plug this cable with another port. For example, here you have port number 8. So you can plug this cable with port number 8 and you need to configure same configuration. Like IP address, services, and other information. Manually, statically, you need to configure. So you need to unplug your cable, plug with port number 8. You need to configure same IP address configuration, everything you need to configure. So that is the manual task. That is the issue. Clear my point? Problem? Rajneesh, Mahesh, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Mahesh?
Yeah. So yeah, just now I joined, sir.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Amit, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, I got it.
So that is the issue. What we can do into the scenario. So we can combine these two interfaces. I don't want to do this static task, manual task. So I can take these two interfaces. I can combine these two interfaces and can create one red interface. Now. So I can create, for example, red one. Into this interface, one interface is acting as an active interface and second interface is acting as a passive. We are not aggregating bandwidth. We are combining multiple interfaces, but we are not aggregating any bandwidth. Okay, speed is again 1 GB. So into this red interface, what we have, one interface is acting as an active and one interface is acting as a passive. So traffic is traveling via active port. Traffic is traveling via active port. If active port goes down, no problem. No problem. We have another interface. So this interface will become automatically active. And now traffic is traveling. What about IP address? So you can combine two interfaces and you can configure IP address here to this red interface. And for example, you are using 30.30.30.1. So this IP address, you can configure as a gateway for these machines. Clear now my point?
Sir, I have a question. Instead of this switch, it is possible with the router also, right?
A router, you can use any device, no problem.
Okay.
But Mahesh, in LAN, do you think you require router in LAN?
No, not about the LAN. Generally, firewall to router connectivity. Then
No, easy. Wait. It's not generally turbo. Okay, see, my point is what we are working with interfaces, Mahesh. We are working with LAN interfaces.
Okay.
If I'm talking about LAN interface, it means we need switch. Clear?
Okay.
We need a switch. So here, see, in switch, we are not configuring anything. Everyone.
Yes, correct.
In switch, we are not configuring anything. All the configuration we will do on FortiGate firewall box.
Okay.
Clear, everyone?
Got it.
Mahesh, Ahmed.
So, sir, we can say like HA interface in FortiGate.
It's not HA, but you can say interface level redundancy. Yeah.
I got 3 questions.
Please ask your question.
First is on the aggregate interface, Ether interface. Do we have any limitations of how many ports we can put it under Ether? Or
Okay, Amit. Okay, remember your CCNA topic. CCNA Ether channel.
8.
Please tell me.
8
Please tell me in a single bundle how many interface you can connect. You can attach.
8.
Exactly. I'm telling you, story is same, Amit.
Okay.
Story is same. Here I'm telling you how to configure it.
Correct. And the second question is on the redundant interface. Can we add the 2 Ether channel as in redundant?
Ether channel. You can try.
Yeah.
You can try. I'm not sure, but you can try. Here, what we are doing, we are trying to combine physical interfaces. But you can try. I'm not sure about this.
Okay, and the last one is on the redundant interface. Is there any criteria for active and passive? Which one will be active? Or
No, there's no any option. You cannot decide.
Okay.
You cannot decide.
Okay.
An interface can become active and other one will become passive. In case if you are working with Cisco FTD, then you can decide primary and secondary interface. You can decide manually in Cisco FTD. Clear?
Okay, got it.
So how to create red interface? You can select and you can give a name, for example, red 1, and you can see interfaces are available. See, port and Amit, see, here we have Here we have Ether channel, right? Here we have Ether channel. So you can see you cannot attach Ether channel interface for a red interface. Let me show you. See, here's the answer.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, so you can give a name, for example, red 1, and you can combine your interfaces, port number 7 and 8. And yes, you can configure IP address, for example, 70.70.70.1/24. You can enable service, you can click on OK. Clear this option, how to work with physical interfaces and how to configure our logical interfaces, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
we have another option. See, guys, we have another option. It's called software switch interface. This concept we can discuss in layer 2 firewall box. In layer 2 firewall topic, we can discuss what is software switch interface. But right now, I'm giving you an idea. In software switch interface, what you can combine your wired interface and wireless interface. You can combine and you can create software switch interface. So in Fortinet, we have a great feature. This option is not available in other vendors. So we will discuss in layer 2 firewall. So yes, these options are clear. I hope aggregate, loopback, red interface, and VLAN interface. Clear now? Lina, Rajneesh, Bhaskar,
Yes, sir.
Chika.
Yes, sir.
sir.
So this is our first topic. It's called introduction and initial configuration. We can take a break for 5 minutes, 5-minute break. And after that, we can start our routing concept. Okay, please turn off your mic, everyone. We can continue our topic at 7 p.m. Clear? At
Okay.
7 p.m. Please turn off your mic. Okay, everyone, can you hear me? Ahmed, Amit, Bhaskar, Leena, Rajneesh, Ruchika.
Yes, sir.
On. Okay, now let's continue
Yes,
our
sir.
topic. So now we can focus on routing configuration. Routing configuration on FortiGate firewall box. So again, I'm not telling you the story. Okay, what is routing concept? What is a static routing? If you remember in routing, you can go with static routing option, or you can go with default routing and dynamic routing you can use. In dynamic routing, we can focus on RIP configuration. Then you can focus on EIGRP, then OSPF configuration. Not EIGRP, we're not configuring because you can configure EIGRP on Cisco devices only. So you can focus on BGP configuration and OSPF. Okay, so can we start our routing concept now, everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, okay, so what is static routing? Can anyone tell me what is static routing?
Static routing is configure manually.
We manually configure.
Manually, we can configure. Okay, please.
Yes, manually.
Please
We
wait.
need to know the destination network address.
Okay. Okay, please wait 5 minutes. I need to create a separate topology for routing implementation. Please wait 5 minutes. So I'm creating a small topology for routing implementation. 148 firewall box. We have 148 firewall box inside network, inside router, or you can say outside router, cloud. This cloud is my laptop. So let's create a small topology. Port number one, I'm using as a management port. Port number 2, we are using for LAN network. So this R1 is a part of LAN network. Okay, port number 3, we are using for outside network. So simple topology we have for R2 router, and port number 3 we are using. So here in between R1 and port number 2, I'm using 200 network, 200.0/24. And this side, this portion is a WAN side portion. So I'm using 10.1.23.0 network. For route information, I'm trying to create loopback on each router. So 1.1.1.1/32. Let's create a loopback here. Let's create loopback on R2 device. So 2.2.2.2/32. Now I'm trying to configure IP address on port number 1 through CLI console. Rest we can configure with graphical page. Firewall will take time. So let's configure our R1 and R2 router, everyone. So this is what R1, and I'm trying to configure IP address here. You can see as per our topology, we are using fast Ethernet 0/0 interface, and 200.200.200.10 I'm using with /24, no shutdown. You can create a loopback. So 1.1.1.1/32. Show IP interface pre. Done. Basic configuration. Let's move on R2. So this R2 is acting as a ISP side router. So interface fast Ethernet 0/0. 10.1.23.10. No shutdown. Let's create a loopback interface here. 2.2.2.2/32. Any problem in basic configuration? Anyone?
No, clear, sir.
Okay, so let's move on FortiGate firewall configuration. So I'm trying to configure IP address on port number 1. This is console page. Okay, config system interface, edit port number 1, and now set mode static because I'm trying to configure IP addresses statically. Into this topology, I'm using 192.168.255.190 IP address. Set allows. You can allow services. Now let's try to access this firewall device. So 192.168.255.190. As per our topology, I'm trying to configure IP address on port number 2 and port number 3. Please wait. So network tab, you can click on interface. Port number 2, we are using as a LAN port. So alias LAN IP address 200.200.200.1/24 ping service. We can click on OK. Let's move on port number 3. Port number 3, you can click on edit. WAN interface 10.1.23.1/24 ping service. You can click on OK. And now you can verify interface information. So show system interface. So you can see we have an IP address on port number 2 and IP address on port number 3. Clear? Any problem in basic configuration? Amit, Bhaskar, Leena?
No,
It's
sir.
clear, sir. Clear.
Clear.
No, sir.
Okay, so now let's move on routing configuration. So for routing configuration, you can click network tab and you can see these options are available for routing configuration. See static route. So this tab you can use for static and default routing configuration. Now for advanced routing, or you can say for dynamic routing, you can use this option RIP, OSPF, and BGP. Okay, in case if these options are not visible, then what you can do, you can go into the system, you can click on feature visibility. So you can see if advanced routing option is enabled right now. If it is disabled, so if you verify again in network tab, if you click on network tab, so you can see you can configure now only static route. Advanced routing options not available. So if not available, not visible, so you can go into the system tab, you can click on feature visibility, and you can enable advanced routing concept. You can click on apply. Now let's verify again. You can click on network tab, network, and now you can see static route and advanced routing you can configure. So let's start our discussion with the static and default routing. So you can click on static route. And here you can create an entry. Before create an entry, if you want to verify your routing table information, so on Fortinet, you can type a command get router info routing table all. This is the command. This command you can use to verify your routing table information. Right now we have directly connected interface information. See, this IP address we are using for management. This 10.1.10.1.23 network we are using for WAN side. 200 network we are using for LAN side. So we have only directly connected interface information. So I'm trying to create an entry. I'm trying to create an entry, so you can click on create. If you click on create, you can see these options are available, but these options are for IP version 4. In case if you are working with IP version 4 network and you want to configure static and default routing, you can go with this option. But in case if I'm working with IP version 6, if I'm working with next generation IP, then what you can do, you can go onto the system tab, you can click on feature visibility, and here you can enable IP version 6 next generation IP feature. You can enable, you can click on apply. And now this time, if you click on network tab, if you click on static route, and if you click on create, you can see both options are available. Now you can decide you want to go for IP version 4 static and default routing, or you can configure IP version 6. Our focus is on IP version 4 as per our topology, but I will tell you, I will give you the idea how to configure static and default routing in IP version 6. But let's focus on IP version 4 static and default routing configuration. So we are trying to create a new static entry. With this tab, you can configure default route, you can configure static route. So now you can see that syntax is asking for destination. For destination, you can go with subnet option, or you can go with the internet services. So if you have destination information, if you know destination IP address or network information, you can create entry here. Destination entry. Syntax is same, everyone. If you remember static and default routing configuration on Cisco devices, so syntax is same. It's asking for destination, asking for gateway. You can say next hop IP, asking for exit interface. Clear my point?
Yes.
So here, what is my task? So into this topology, I want to configure static and default routing. So for LAN network, I want to configure static route, and for outside network, let's configure default routing. So let's go on to this firewall device, and we can create entry. We can create an entry. So let's configure default route for R2 side. So for any network, any mask, this is the syntax for default routing configuration. For any network, any mask, our gateway is 10.1.23.2 next hop IP, and exit interface. So you can click port number 3, it's exit interface. And now you can see administrative distance. Okay, what is administrative distance? Any idea? What is AD value?
So this is the feature the router used to select best route.
It's like priority.
Priority, and least AD value is more preferred, right?
Yes.
So in case if you are working with Cisco devices, so AD value is 1 for static and default routing. But in 48 firewall box, you can see AD value is 10 for static and default routing configuration. So it's a 10. Now you can click on OK. You can click on OK. You can create this entry. So yes, we have an entry for any unknown destination. Gateway is 10.1.23.10 and exit interface is port number 3. Now you can click on create again. You can click on IP version 4 static route. Okay. Now you can create an entry. So I'm trying to configure static route for inside network. So you can see in inside network, we have a loopback. So destination is what if anyone trying to go 1.1.1/32. So gateway is 200.210 and exit interface is port number 2. You can click on OK. So here you can create entry. If you want to verify your routing table information, so you can type get router info routing table all. So this time you can see, this time you can verify for any unknown destination. You can go via 10.1.23.10 and this is port number 3. It's exit interface. In case if you want to go on 1.1.1, so gateway is 200.210 and exit interface. Clear? Any problem?
Clear, sir.
Now we can verify our connectivity if we have root in our routing table. So we can verify connectivity, execute ping 1.1.1. I'm trying to ping, I'm getting reply. Now execute ping 2.2.2.2 and I'm getting reply. So we have a connectivity. Now let's go on to this page.
Sir,
Yes.
so can I ping from GUI or just only from CLI?
CLI. Sorry.
There is an option. There is an option to ping from GUI.
See, both options are available. If you want to configure static route or any configuration, options are available in CLI. Ahmed.
No, he is telling that if the ping option is available.
Verification.
Ping option.
Yeah.
No. You can
Only from CLI.
No, you cannot ping from a graphical page. No.
Okay.
There's no option. It's not a FTD. Okay. Like in FTD, we have packet capture option. We can generate some packet, but here is no option in FortiGate. If you want to verify your connectivity, you can go with CLI option. Ahmed,
and sir, what was the second option? That internet services apart from that subnet.
I'm telling you, give me time. I'm telling
okay.
I'm telling you. Okay, give me time. Okay, now so let's complete this option first. So for any unknown destination, gateway is this. Okay, and for 1.1.1, you can go via 200.210. So you can see distance information, but now you can see one more information here. It's called priority value. So where we can use this priority value, we'll discuss. But let's talk about another option. So for example, in my network, if I have primary and secondary option, for example, right now we have entry for static and default route, no problem. But in case if I have primary and secondary option, wait. So this side, this network is a primary network. And this side, it's a secondary. So 10.1.32 network, for example. And now let's configure IP address on port number 4. So port number 4, edit. So this is what WAN 2 IP address we can configure 10.1.32.1/24. Ping service, you can click on OK. Okay, port number 3, I'm using as a WAN 1. It's called WAN 1. You can click on OK. So now my point is what? Let's talk about primary and secondary option here. So you can go on static route and we can create one more entry for this connection. So again, for any unknown destination, you can go via 10.1.32.10. Our exit interface is port number 4. And now everyone, please help me. If I want to use this route as a secondary route, then what I need to do?
Just decrement the AD value.
Yes. See, this side I can change AD value. For example, this side AD value is 25. So you can see for unknown destination, you have 2 entry, right? For unknown destination, via this side AD value is 10, and via this side AD value is 25. So as per routing concept, least AD value is more preferred. So if you check your routing table this time, get router info routing table all. This time you can see you have only best route in your routing table. Ahmed, Amit, Bhaskar, Leena, Ruchika. You can see, guys, here we have
Yes, sir.
best route. But as per our configuration, we have 2 entry, right? For any unknown destination, you can go via 10.1.3.10, or you can go via 10.1.32.10. We have 2 entry, but here, if you verify your routing table, you can see only best route because it's a routing table. In routing table, we have a best route. In case if you want to verify all possible route, I want to see all possible route. So you can use a command get router info routing table database command. With database command, you can get all possible route information. See, for unknown destination, you have two entry. Via this side, AD value is 25. Okay, please wait, guys. 5 minutes. Okay, let's take a break for 5 minutes. Everyone.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We can continue
Okay.
at 7:25. Hello. Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Everyone, Bhaskar,
Yes, sir.
Ahmed,
Yes, sir.
Neela,
Yes, sir.
Rishika. Okay, let's continue our topic now. Wait. Okay, so what we can do, you can verify with database command, you can verify your routing table information, your database information. So wait. So now, in case if you want to go for primary and secondary, you can go with AD value. Clear my point, Neela?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now in case if you have equal AD value, for example, we are working with static and default routing. So metric is what? In a static and default route, metric is what? It's AD value, right? So in case if we have equal AD value, for example, equal metric, you can say, if we have equal metric on both sides, then what will happen? It will install both the root into the routing table. So if you verify your routing table information, this time get router info routing table all. So you can see both the roots are installed into your routing table. Clear now?
Yes.
We have equal metric on both sides. So both roots are available now in my routing table. Now, in case if I can't change, for example, if I can't change any priority value, but I want to go with primary and secondary option into this topology. See, I cannot change any AD value, for example, but I want to go with primary and secondary. So what you can do, you can go with priority value concept. You can see if you click on advanced, you can see there is a priority value option. So if there is any tie in between AD value, in between metric, so the tiebreaker is what? Priority value. And you can see with this question mark, lower priority value is more preferred. So for example, here this side, I'm using 15 this side, and via 10.1.32.10, I'm using priority value, for example, 45. So you can click on OK. So first it will check metric value. If there is any tie in between metric value, so tiebreaker is least priority value. If you check your routing table this time, so you can see we have a priority value 15 and 14. Clear now? Amit, Bhaskar, Leena, Rajesh, Ruchit.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let's create one more entry. You can click on IPv4. So if you remember syntax, you can go with subnet option. In subnet option, what you can do, if you have subnet information, for example, if you have network information, so you can define here, you can define your gateway, you can define your exit interface information. Done. Now we have another option, it's called internet services. So if you have destination information, you can go with subnet option. But here in FortiGate, we have internet services. So here we have internet services object information. You can see right now we have 1361 internet services information. For example, if anyone trying to go Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, I don't know what is IP address. I don't know what is IP address on Facebook, Instagram, but you can select this object because it's available in FortiGate Firewall. Internet services object is available. What is IP address on Facebook, Instagram? It's a FortiGate Firewall box responsibility. He will find it. What I'm doing right now, I'm trying to attach this object and I can define the gateway. So if anyone trying to go Facebook, Instagram, so they can go via 10.1.32.10. You can click on OK. Clear my point? What we can do? Either you can go with the subnet option or you can go with the internet services, and these objects are available. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Now in case if you want to configure IP version 6 static and default route, so you can click on IP version 6. So if you remember IP version 6 format, it has 128-bit, right? It is in a hexadecimal format. So if you have idea about IP address in IP version 6, so I'm creating an entry. For example, for destination 2001:10:1:. 12:0/64. Just it's a network, okay? And gateway 2001:10:1:65:1. Just example, okay? It's just example. Now, exit interface is port number 7, for example. You can click on OK. So like this, you can create entry. Clear? Static and default routing configuration. Ahmed, Amit, Bhaskar, Leela, Rajneesh.
Yes.
Now we can focus on advanced routing concept. But let's continue advanced routing in next class. Okay, this option. Okay, everyone.
Okay, sir.
Let's continue
Yes, sir.
Sir.
in next class. Bye,
Sir,
guys.
can
Take
we
care.
Start lab.
Sorry.
Lab.
Lab setup we can do in next session, Lena.
Okay. No.
I will help everyone to set up the lab, but in next class.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
sir.
please don't forget to share the video. Inshallah.
Yes, Ahmed, I will share. Actually, I have a batch, okay, from 8 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. I have 14 hours batch in weekend. That is the
No
issue.
problem.
That is
No
the
problem.
issue. So I will upload.
Okay.
I will upload tomorrow. Sure, I will upload. Okay.
Okay, inshallah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, everyone. Take care,
Thank you,
guys.
sir.
Thank you, sir, so much.
Bye.
Thank you.